Thank you, Catherine, and welcome, Ananda.
Hello, Rory. How are you doing?
Very good. So thanks for joining, and thank you for sharing your insights. I watched your talk, and I thought it was really kind of detailed into the kind of maturity of different kind of stages of UX research in different companies. So if anybody out there hasn't seen the talk yet, I highly recommend it.
Sure.
So I'm just going to jump in and start asking some of the questions that came to my mind as I was watching your talk. So one of the key things that I took away was that you were saying with the maturity that it kind of would shift. It would go from being kind of a lot more directional at the start to being a lot more foundational. Can you give an example of one or two kind of things that you would do that you would classify as directional and things that you would do that you would classify as foundational?
Okay, thanks for the question, Rory. I think when it comes to the direction or the foundational, it depends on the problem that you're trying to solve, right? Sometimes when we want to evaluate a certain design or prototype, or maybe if we want to know whether a business model works or not, it is probably something that is already decided, right? So upon we try to solve and seek the answers for that, the outcome is probably already determined. We just have to decide on whether we will launch that or not, right? Based on the research results. But when we talk about foundational thing, mostly it is done because we don't know about what we when we don't really know about what we are doing, it is when we decide to do the foundational part. And the interesting part is that the topic is usually very abstract. We don't even really understand how we are going to ask this. It is mostly through trial and error. And also the outcome is not yet determined. So maybe it's more like a blank canvas. For example, in my company, we try to create a business that is probably already take over by other competitors, but we haven't yet tapped into that area. So we learn from what our competitors do, but we don't really have like a stepping stone in our company because we have never tried that. So in order for us to know whether that kind of opportunity can also apply within our company, we try to explore many things. We try to explore things regarding our competitors. We try to benchmark in platforms outside our competitors, maybe our indirect competitors that have been become a long time player in that kind of business. And we also read many secondary data, and also we indicate whether there is a trend or not, or maybe opportunity to go through this business model based on our internal data and also related business. And then from that, we try to do some scratch and also some strategic planning in order to find out whether our potential users are interested in that. And it took a long time for us to actually launch the product since we have never done that before. We have no ideas on how to build it at first, but we try to iterate over and over until we are sure what we are going to do with that, because it's kind of tricky if you want to shift into foundational, because sometimes the outcome may not be something that is exact, right? So you don't really know whether this is going to be used for a long term, or you don't even can expect on how this will impact your company, because maybe that is too strategic and abstract to be used for actionable insights, but maybe it can also be used for a very long time. For example, the research that I mentioned before, now it has been used for over 2 years. And we are still conducting research regarding that matter. But when it comes to the basic or the foundation on why we built the feature in the first place, we always revert back to the foundational research that we first built, which includes all of the abstraction regarding the hypothesis of the model that we want to build.
Great. There's about 5 different things there that I want to chase up. So I'm going to go back to one of the points that you said at the start, which was kind of in your foundational versus directive. Would you say that it's kind of more direction is more evaluating, so kind of usability tests and evaluative research versus generative research, which is more about that kind of just talking to customers and trying to understand their problems?
Yeah, I think directional comes from the word direction, right? It means that the problem itself is already clear by its own. You already know on what you want to test. You already know on what you are seeking. So you have to only probe through the solutions that you probably have crafted, whether the solution is actually ready or it's half ready, but the solution is there. But for the foundational, you don't even know what you are solving. So it will take a lot of efforts to do so.
And so just on that bit about moving to that more foundational. So you mentioned that kind of that's a bit of the shift from laggard to early, where you're adding a little bit more foundational work in. How do you get buy-in for that budget? Because as you said, you don't know at this point if it's going to work. You might be going down a bad avenue.
Yeah.
So how do you get the budget and the buy-in to move to that early stage?
Okay, so I think it's not done by myself only. I thank my boss so much for this one, because she really moves in a very strategic manner. She always keep in mind that the research is not something that we conduct in order to support others, but we also want to empower them in the long run. So we always try to find opportunities to help them even when they don't ask us to. And one of the things that I think is really crucial in this matter is that if we don't really have anything to do, because mostly people in a very early stage will, try to move by the request, right? It will depend on who are requesting the backlog and whether there are any requests or not in order for you to work. But my boss always remind us in the research team that the best kind of work is something that you identify by your own and by your own initiatives. So one of the things that we do, even when we are still in the early stage, is that we always try to identify the opportunities from the people that we are talking with. For example, if we held a meeting, like such a design sprint or town hall, we always ask them on what they are, what do they want to know from the user side, whether they already have the data or not, how they are going to use the concept model in order to design something, what are the feedbacks that they would like to know if they want to design something. And from that kind of informations, we there is a possibility for us to identify what is missing, and from that we try to make a proposal out of it, and we try to pitch it to them, to the stakeholders, whether or not we can do this research. And by doing that, and if you multiply the researchers into many researchers within the team, the trust is slowly getting built, right? And from there, people tend to revere us from word to mouth, so that other divisions also seek us when it comes to research. And when we have that kind of trust, we try to compile the findings and also the research, and we send it to, like, I don't know, sometimes newsletter, or we try to create like this kind of channel in which people can ask everything related to research there, so that we will gain exposure and they can also get what they want. So yeah, I think it's more about gaining the trust, and people start advocating us to do better work and also to do more work. And yeah, I think based on the justification that we get from the impact that we conducted, we can actually request more researchers. We start to gain more budgets, and we are given the freedom to expand our coverage into many more topics. For example, we don't only handle research regarding the product design team. We also handle research regarding the business, and also the research regarding the CX, and also the in-depth study regarding the internal data analysis. So it really opens many opportunities.
Great. I could keep asking you. I actually do have a lot more questions, but unfortunately
Oh, sure, Joe.
we're we're out of time. But thank you very much again for your talk. Thank you for those questions. And I might put a few if we don't get time to answer them in the panel. And I'll put them into Slack. And if anybody out there has any questions as well, please feel free to share. So thank you, Ananda.